Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
No longer sufficient. Supplies are low. The lowest forward gear ratio in the gearbox of a motor vehicle, used to start a car moving. Make a low noise, characteristic of bovines. Used of sounds and voices, low in pitch or frequency. An air mass of lower pressure, often brings precipitation. A low moved in overnight bringing sleet and snow. Subdued or brought low in condition or status. Brought low. Of the most contemptible kind. A low stunt to pull. Filled with melancholy and despondency. Low or inferior in station or quality. A lowly parish priest. Very low in volume. A low murmur. British political cartoonist, born in New Zealand, who created the character Colonel Blimp, 1891 to 1963. A low level or position or degree. The stock market fell to a new low. Less than normal in degree or intensity or amount. Low prices. Literal meanings: being at or having a relatively small elevation or upward extension. Low ceilings. Unrefined in character. Low comedy. No longer sufficient. Our funds are depleted. The fielding position of the player on a baseball team who is stationed at first of the bases in the infield, counting counterclockwise from home plate. Indicating the beginning unit in a series. Serving to set in motion. His first, or maiden, speech in Congress. Serving to begin. The first verse. The time at which something is supposed to begin. Ranking above all others. Was first in her class. Prominently forward. The lowest forward gear ratio in the gearbox of a motor vehicle, used to start a car moving. The first element in a countable series. The first of the month. Before anything else. First we must consider the garter snake. The first or highest in an ordering or series. He wanted to be the first. An honors degree of the highest class. Highest in pitch or chief among parts or voices or instruments or orchestra sections. First soprano. Preceding all others in time or space or degree. The first house on the right. The lowest forward gear ratio in the gearbox of a motor vehicle, used to start a car moving. The lowest forward gear ratio in the gearbox of a motor vehicle, used to start a car moving. Make a low noise, characteristic of bovines. The sound made by a cow or bull. Used of sounds and voices, low in pitch or frequency. Set at a low angle or slant. A low-pitched roof. A state of depression and anhedonia so severe as to require clinical intervention. A period during the 1930s when there was a worldwide economic depression and mass unemployment. An air mass of lower pressure, often brings precipitation. A concavity in a surface produced by pressing. A long-term economic state characterized by unemployment and low prices and low levels of trade and investment. A sunken or depressed geological formation. A mental state characterized by a pessimistic sense of inadequacy and a despondent lack of activity. Angular distance below the horizon, especially of a celestial object. Pushing down. Depression of the spacebar on the typewriter. Sad feelings of gloom and inadequacy. Out of working order, busted, is an informal substitute for broken. A broken washing machine. Tamed or trained to obey. A horse broken to the saddle. Topographically very uneven. Broken terrain. Subdued or brought low in condition or status. A broken man. Thrown into a state of disarray or confusion. Troops fleeing in broken ranks. Destroyed financially. The broken fortunes of the family. Especially of promises or contracts, having been violated or disregarded. Broken, or unkept, promises. Discontinuous. Broken clouds. Imperfectly spoken or written. Broken English. Lacking a part or parts. A broken set of encyclopedia. Not continuous in space, time, or sequence or varying abruptly. Broken lines of defense. Physically and forcibly separated into pieces or cracked or split. A broken mirror. Weakened and infirm. Broken health resulting from alcoholism. Subdued or brought low in condition or status. Treated so as to have a permanently wrinkled appearance. Crushed velvet. Subdued or brought low in condition or status. Made to feel uncomfortable because of shame or wounded pride. Humiliated that his wife had to go out to work. Subdued or brought low in condition or status. Showing utter resignation or hopelessness. Abject surrender. Of the most contemptible kind. Abject cowardice. Most unfortunate or miserable. The most abject slaves joined in the revolt. Showing humiliation or submissiveness. An abject apology. Of jazz, having the soulful feeling of early blues. Slang terms for inside information. Of the most contemptible kind. A low-down sneak. Of very poor quality or condition. Contemptibly small in amount. The company donated a miserable $100 for flood relief. Characterized by physical misery. A wet, miserable weekend. Deserving or inciting pity. Miserable victims of war. Of the most contemptible kind. His miserable treatment of his family. Very unhappy, full of misery. He felt depressed and miserable. Of the most contemptible kind. A scummy rabble. Covered with scum. The scummy surface of the polluted pond. A condition caused by deficiency of ascorbic acid, vitamin C. Of the most contemptible kind. A scurvy trick. Of the color intermediate between green and violet, having a color similar to that of a clear unclouded sky. October's bright blue weather. Morally rigorous and strict. Blue laws. Blue color or pigment, resembling the color of the clear sky in the daytime. He had eyes of bright blue, causing dejection. A blue day. The sodium salt of amibarbital that is used as a barbiturate, used as a sedative and a hypnotic. Belonging to or characteristic of the nobility or aristocracy. A blue family. Suggestive of sexual impropriety. A blue movie. Filled with melancholy and despondency. Lonely and blue in a strange city. The sky as viewed during daylight. He shot an arrow into the blue. Used to whiten laundry or hair or give it a bluish tinge. Characterized by profanity or cursing. Blue language. Any of numerous small butterflies of the family Lycaenidae. Any organization or party whose uniforms or badges are blue. The Union Army was a vast blue. Blue clothing. She was wearing blue. Turn blue. Used to signify the Union forces in the American Civil War, who wore blue uniforms. A ragged blue line. Lower than previously. The market is depressed. Filled with melancholy and despondency. Depressed by the loss of his job. Flattened downward as if pressed from above or flattened along the dorsal and ventral surfaces. Marked by low spirits, showing no enthusiasm. A dispirited and divided party. Filled with melancholy and despondency. A dispirited and resigned expression on her face. English physician who first described Down syndrome, 1828 to 1896. Understood perfectly. Had his algebra problems down. Soft fine feathers. Extending or moving from a higher to a lower place. The down staircase. Fine soft dense hair, as the fine short hair of cattle or deer or the wool of sheep or the undercoat of certain dogs. Spatially or metaphorically from a higher to a lower level or position. Don't fall down. Lower than previously. Prices are down. Filled with melancholy and despondency. Downcast after his defeat. Eat up completely, as with great appetite. Some people can down a pound of meat in the course of one meal. Cause to come or go down. The policeman downed the heavily armed suspect. Improve or perfect by pruning or polishing. Drink down entirely. He downed 3 martinis before dinner. Shoot at and force to come down. American football, a complete play to advance the football. You have 4 downs to gain 10 yards. Becoming progressively lower. The downtrend in the real estate market. Being or moving lower in position or less in some value. Lay face down. Being put out by a strikeout. 2 down in the bottom of the 9th. Bring down or defeat an opponent. Not functioning, temporarily or permanently. We can't work because the computer is down. Shut. The shades were down. Usually plural, a rolling treeless highland with little soil. Away from a more central or a more northerly place. Was sent down to work at the regional office. To a lower intensity. He slowly phased down the light until the stage was completely black. Filled with melancholy and despondency. Filled with melancholy and despondency. Downcast after his defeat. A ventilation shaft through which air enters a mine. Directed downward. A downcast glance. Filled with melancholy and despondency. Feeling discouraged and downhearted. Depressingly dark. The gloomy forest. Causing dejection. A dark gloomy day. Filled with melancholy and despondency. Gloomy at the thought of what he had to face. Harshly uninviting or formidable in manner or appearance. A grim man loving duty more than humanity. Causing dejection. Grim rainy weather. Not to be placated or appeased or moved by entreaty. Grim determination. Shockingly repellent, inspiring horror. The grim aftermath of the bombing. Filled with melancholy and despondency. Took a grim view of the economy. Harshly ironic or sinister. A grim joke. Filled with melancholy and despondency. Of low birth or station, base, is archaic in this sense. Of humble, or lowly, birth. Low or inferior in station or quality. A humble cottage. Used of unskilled work, especially domestic work. Cause to feel shame. Hurt the pride of. Cause to be unpretentious. This experience will humble him. Marked by meekness or modesty, not arrogant or prideful. A humble apology. Of low birth or station, base, is archaic in this sense. Of humble, or lowly, birth. Low or inferior in station or quality. A lowly parish priest. Used of unskilled work, especially domestic work. Inferior in rank or status. A lowly corporal. Not large but sufficient in size or amount. A modest salary. Relatively moderate, limited, or small. A newspaper with a modest circulation. Low or inferior in station or quality. A modest man of the people. Humble in spirit or manner, suggesting retiring mildness or even cowed submissiveness. Free from pomp or affectation. Comfortable but modest cottages. Marked by simplicity, having a humble opinion of yourself. A modest apartment. Not offensive to sexual mores in conduct or appearance. A modest neckline in her dress covered her up to her collarbone. Not large but sufficient in size or amount. Helped in my own small way. Lowercase. Small a. Relatively moderate, limited, or small. A small business. Low or inferior in station or quality. Small beginnings. Of children and animals, young, immature. Small children. Of a voice, faint. A still small voice. Made to seem smaller or less, especially in worth. Her comments made me feel small. Limited or below average in number or quantity or magnitude or extent. A small car. A garment size for a small person. Have fine or very small constituent particles. A small misty rain. Slight or limited, especially in degree or intensity or scope. A series of death struggles with small time in between. The slender part of the back. On a small scale. Think small.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.